And then this week's beauty tip, which I think we're up to 11 or 12 now, is about primers. You have your eye primers and you have your face primers. And what primers are meant to do is meant to make whatever you're wearing, whether it's your foundation or shadow, make it last. And a primer and a base are two different things, and I've said this before, and sometimes I confuse it when I'm explaining what I have on. But a primer is to make the color stick, to make the color last. Some people have oily eyelids. I noticed that when I used to actively do Mary Kay, that some women, I would do their makeup in the morning, or actually in Mary Kay, you're supposed to teach them how to do their own makeup. And when I would see them again that evening, like let's say in church, their makeup would have completely just faded off. And it's because some people have oily eyelids, and that's why, you get the primers. Like Urban Decay and I believe Mary Kay are drier than most primers. I can't wear the Urban Decay one. It's awful. It is awful for me. So what I do is I might mix it, like my favorite is Shadow Insurance. And I'll mix that one with the Mary Kay because that one's kind of oily. Like the e.l.f. is kind of oily. I would say Wet n Wild is a bit oily. So I'll mix it with my Mary Kay primer, which is a little dry, and it's like the perfect combination. I think NYX's was pretty good as well. It wasn't too oily. So that's just to make your shadow stick. The primers for the face is to make your foundation stick. What I can't stand about that is because, I guess for those of us with oily skin, it is so greasy on the skin. It feels, to me, it just feels horrible. And lately, the only time I really will use a face primer is because I use the Color Stay, and sometimes the older Color Stays from Revlon, because that's what I need for this Houston humidity. My makeup melts right off, so I started using Color Stay. And Mary Kay's pretty good, though. I haven't tried their new foundations yet for that, but I know that the older Mary Kay's, they are really good. They last me all day. But sometimes the older Color Stays can be a bit drying, and I'll mix primer with that. Primers are also supposed to be good for under the eyes. It's supposed to help fill in the lines, help the concealer go on better, smoother, and not, because I know that without concealer, you can barely see my fine lines. I mean, barely. You really have to look close to see my fine lines. And nobody's going to be all up in the eyepiece, to see that. But once I put concealer, oh my goodness. So I took to wearing primer mostly, at least the face primer, under the eye. And it does seem to help. Other tips, I guess, when we get into concealer is try it, instead of using lighter like most women use, it would be darker concealer. But anyway, I find that a primer under the eye does help somewhat. But once you put that concealer on, you can really, really notice the fine lines just pop out. So primer is meant to make it stick. It's meant to fill in any flaws. I have enlarged pores, and I don't find that it really, I felt like it made them stand out more. So again, the only reason I use it now because it's so oily is with some of the older Color Stays. But I do use it under my eyes because it does seem to help. And definitely I use it on my lids, for the eyeshadow to pop. Now, again, primer and base are two different things. A base is like what I do with Kryolan. It's a color that you put underneath your shadow wherever you want a color to really, really pop. And in some cases, it might also alter the color of the shadow. If you're not crazy about the color of the shadow and you use a specific colored primer, see, I confuse when I say it, but a specific colored base, whether it's NYX, which are my favorite, whether it's Kryolan, whether you use Mayron, whatever it is that you use as the base color, it might even change the color of your shadow, especially if the shadow isn't pigmented. This is going to make that shadow pop. So there is a difference between a base and a primer. However, there are primers that do have base colors in them, like for those people who have a lot of red like me. Mostly the red in the summer, it's not that big of a deal because your face is gonna tan. But in the winter, when the tan starts to fade, as everybody's tan will fade, you'll notice the redness more. And then I like to put a green base. They have primers with colors in them, but I just use like a green base. Sometimes with a red, which is this area right here where it really shows in the T-zone. I'll use that underneath my foundation to help, to help hide that redness. They have like, supposedly some people have a lot of yellow in the skin, so they should use like a primer or base underneath the foundation, which a lot of companies make. So people with a red skin, have a lot of red in the skin, they would use the green. And then I heard that some people have dark spots and like the yellow might help to take away those dark spots, to blend it in and neutralize it a little more, to look more of your skin tone. So you could find these colored bases in with the primer. You can buy them separately. You've got the cream forms, and then you've got the liquid forms. Most primers themselves are liquid forms, but some bases are going to be cream formed, in cream form, to put underneath the foundation. Me, what I mostly do is, since I do have some powder foundations, which I used to love to wear before, now I can only wear those in the winter, so it works better. See, because for me, once I put the foundation on, it just seems to like rub off the primer, or rub off that green base underneath. So the powder really grabs onto that, the green like base, or the primer. It doesn't wipe it off, whereas foundation might. So, you might want to try that out, using a colored primer, a cream base, and then use a powder foundation. I just find that, that's what works for me in the winter. Powder foundations can give you pretty good coverage, but for me, I use that green primer or a green base underneath, and I'm good to go. And here in the winter, it's not as humid, or maybe not humid at all, it might get chilly. It really works very well, it covers very well. So, yeah, that's my my beauty tip number 11 or 12, I'm not sure. So yeah, so next week, I'm not sure if I'll be doing a video on Monday. My husband is took his vacation, so I know that next Friday's Halloween, and I may go ahead and just do my Halloween look, do a video of Halloween. So you might not see me till that Friday. Or, maybe I'll do it like the day before and load it on Friday, So anyway, so that's what I have for you today. Those are the tips I have for you today. And I will see you next week with the next, next week will probably be the Halloween, and then the following week will probably be using this Regal palette again. And I think what I'm going to do is that lavender color, which should go well with this silver shimmer. That silver shimmer did not go well with this red. I did put it on the inner corners, but anyway, okay, so I will see you next week.